guys, what's up? We are live. Jamie Atkinson here. Hope you guys can hear me. Let me know down in the chat if the audio is all okay and if you guys are here with me live. We're actually doing a live webinar today, which is very exciting because I get to actually hang out with you guys. It is currently Tuesday, the 2nd of March. I don't know if you guys can see that here. Got some messages from my team. But I'm actually here with you. I'm actually here live, which is super exciting. I've got you guys chat messages up on the right-hand side here. I've got all of my notes here for what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about podcasting, but more specifically, how to massively grow your business using a podcast. And I'm just pumped to hang out with you guys today and give you some serious value. So over the next hour, I'm going to try and give you as much information as possible so that you can actually get started. This isn't going to be just me telling stories that aren't going to give you value. My goal is to get you to the actual results. So as you're coming in, say hi. Let me know where you guys coming in from. And if you can actually give me some context about you and your business. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how much you're charging for your product or service right now. And don't worry if you're just getting started in business. Just let me know if you haven't got started as well. But knowing what your guys' businesses are, knowing what industries you're in, it's going to help me a lot with context today to make sure I can give you guys a ton of value. I actually just got back from Mexico for the last couple of days. I'm a little tired, to be honest with you, as we're doing it today. So if I have any hiccups, if I stumble over any words, I apologize. I haven't had much tea today, which is kind of hilarious considering I'm English, but there we go. So we're going to dive straight into the content. So again, just let me know down in the chat. Say hi. Let me know you guys are here. And tell me a little bit about what you do. Tell me about your business. Tell me how much you charge. Tell me what you're doing. Perry says he's got a filmmaker podcast. Love that, Perry. That's awesome. We've got Graham. Hello from Sonoma, California. Sonoma. Don't even know if I'm saying that right. I'm actually in Costa Rica right now. So I know it's probably similar to what California is like. So I'm going to pull my slides up. We're going to get started with this training right now. And I'm going to just fire straight in because I want to give you guys as much value as possible in the limited time that we've got together. But remember, the more you guys participate, the more you tell me, the more context I can give you and the more value I can give you. And don't be scared to ask questions as we go through this live. So I'm Jamie. Really quickly, before we start, I wanted to just share some context because there's a lot of people that teach stuff online. This is actually my Stripe account. I know it's kind of a bit vulgar and a little bit crude to kind of show people how much money you make, but a lot of people are like, Jamie, why should I even care what you're talking about? In the last couple of years in our business, we've been able to generate over $500,000 in revenue, and we're still growing as we continue to expand our business. And this is all from podcasting, what we're doing inside of our business and leveraging the podcast to actually grow it. We've recently started expanding paid advertising, scaling up our business. But what I want to share with you guys is really to understand how podcasting got me to this place. Literally in February 2019 was when I got started, and the podcast was the catalyst for all of this growth. Alex is here from Montreal. He's a parent counselor, consulting, $1,500 for 4 sessions. Graham's a results coach with a unique focus on trauma. Been doing one-on-one coaching offline for years and now going online, currently building a course. Graham, I love that. Thank you guys for sharing that because it gives me some good context as we're going through the training here. And for all of you guys, that are here, I imagine a lot of you have been considering launching a podcast, and that's probably why you're here for this session, or you already have a podcast, but you're not making the money from it. And the truth is, when it comes to podcasting, the average podcaster only does 7 episodes before quitting. 80% of Anchor podcasts, they get created. They don't even get a single download. 90% of podcasts that get created don't make it past 3 months. And the problem is most podcasters, they just have no idea what success looks like. They don't know how to make any money from their shows. And if you've experienced this, if you've got a show or you've tried to launch a podcast and you haven't been able to see any serious growth in your business, I just want to let you know, it's not your fault. A lot of people are teaching podcasting in a way that works if you have a ton of followers and a ton of people following you already. But if you're starting from ground zero, it can be really tough. And I want you to know it's okay to dream about creating a really amazing business and using a podcast to get there. And I want you to also understand that it's way more important for you to focus on getting paying clients in your business than just to focus on, download numbers or things along the line of that. So we're not here just to talk about podcasting, though. I'm going to show you how to get into the top 200 with a launch. It's really not that big of a deal, but we're not just going to talk about that. We're here to learn how you can actually use that podcast to close sales in your business, even if you don't have an audience, even if it's a small audience. And if you're sick of the grind and you want to learn how to scale and grow your business and literally be able to work less hours and earn more money, then we've got something that's going to help you to do that. And that's what we're going to cover today. It's these 3 simple keys that are going to exponentially grow your business with a podcast. And it doesn't require an audience, an email list, any promotion. And you can actually do it even if you have less than 100 listeners to your show. And I know some of you guys are going to be skeptical. I get a lot of people like, Jamie, this sounds unbelievable. And that's probably a fair assessment. It is going to sound a little bit unbelievable. You might think it's BS. But at the end of the session today, hopefully you guys are going to understand. And my goal for you guys today is to see that you don't have to rely on an audience, download numbers, a list, or having to go out and publish like a lunatic. You can do this in a really, really powerful way that isn't going to take a ton of your time. Just like Matt, this is Matt Decino. He didn't even get around to launching his podcast. He came through our process and actually launched this show called Epic Owners. He actually only has the trailer episode. But he still spoke to 27 of his ideal clients in the first 30 days. And he was able to close over 30% of them into his offer. A little bit later, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how he did that today using this process. And my goal for today is really just quite simple. My goal is to help you to understand why a podcast is the number 1 growth tool you got to be focusing on in 2020. I'm going to show you how to grow your business with your podcast, even if you don't have a big audience or a ton of time. I'm going to show you how to use a podcast to drastically increase your sales and conversions straight away. So does that sound cool for you guys? Let me know. Give me a little mad emoji or a smiley face just to make sure you guys are still here with me. And first, who am I? I'm Jamie. I'm just kind of like you guys. Just like you, I've been trying to figure out how to make an online business work. And through no paid traffic and just organic hard work in the first 18 months to 2 years of my business, we were able to be really successful. I'm kind of a nerd. This is me, nerding out, trying to record episodes. I kind of believe in self-care, but also believe in beer at the end of the day. So I want to just share a little bit about how I am. But in the first 12 months, we were able to grow our business to over $253,000 in sales. And it only took us another 7 months during a pandemic world to generate another $250,000. We've helped over 250 people launch profitable podcasts, many of them who are generating stable monthly recurring revenue, and they're making sales anywhere from $1,500, $10,000, $25,000, or even $40,000 sales. And I've been a member of Russell Brunson's 2 Comma Club X coaching program. We have a program called the Podcast Profit Lab. I'm a #1 best-selling author. And I was even asked to speak on stage by Russell Brunson just 9 months after starting my podcast to share these strategies with people. And I just want to be real with you guys for a sec. Like these people, these 300 people who paid Russell $25,000 to $50,000, to come and learn from him. They all invested $25 to $50K to be there. And exactly what I was teaching to them, I'm going to teach to you guys today for free. And I think it's going to be really, really valuable. We've had a ton of people who've used this framework that I'm going to show you to literally make millions of dollars with this process. And I'm about to share that with you. People like Reem, Reem is really incredible. We're going to tell you a little bit about her 6- and 7-figure podcast story a bit later, how she went and grew her business and was able to make over 7 figures using this strategy. We're also going to talk about Brett. That's Brett. He was kind of pissed that his sisters were getting all the limelight. So he decided, all right, I'm going to go and launch my own podcast and grow a business. That's going to show them. Just kidding. This is really Brett. That was his son, Strive, whose middle name is actually Brett. But the poor guy is heavily outnumbered, right? He definitely needed to find a way to make money every month just because of all of these cute outfits that he's got to invest on his business, right? So we're going to tell you a little bit about how Brett used what we're going to show today to create 10 years worth of insane levels of monthly recurring income and how he took his income to the moon faster than any cryptocurrency ever could. And we're also going to share stories of people like Rachel. She didn't make millions of dollars, but she was able to make her first $3,000 online. And it helped her to take that step into becoming an entrepreneur. And for a lot of you guys, maybe it's just making your first $1,000. Maybe it's getting to $10,000 a month. Maybe it's building $1 million business. But whatever you want to accomplish, today I'm going to show you how to use a podcast to help you to do just that. And myself, I've been able to scale to multiple 6 figures. We've helped hundreds launch shows. We've had countless students making money podcasting in their first 30 days. But honestly, when I first started out, I wasn't all that. I was really just getting started from a very beginning stage. I had about 100 people on my email list. I was just getting by. This is a picture of me in Bali, kind of looking cool, trying to pose and tell a great story about how I was able to build a business. But I had no idea which end of a microphone to plug in. And I also was struggling to make any significant money. And what I want to share with you guys is that most of the really successful entrepreneurs that you see, the likes of Joe Rogan, Russell Brunson, Brendon Burchard, they were somewhat successful, but they didn't explode until they had their podcast. You have people, even like Alex Sharfan, who has the Momentum podcast. He didn't truly get into momentum until he launched his show. And just like you guys, some of these people have spent years spending money on personal development and this and that. And now that they have a podcast, they literally have millions of downloads a month. But what I want to show you is how you can actually use a podcast to get started just like those guys did. And I'm here to share the how. Because honestly, if you guys try and do this on your own, you would be absolutely crazy, right? Without a proven framework that we literally spent years perfecting, a lot of you guys are going to fail. And I don't want that for you. I want to give you the strategies of how you can actually have success. So today we're going to share these 3 keys of podcasting. One is my weird 1970s pirate radio hack to a top 200 launch. This is kind of weird. It's super hilarious how this comes together, but it works like gangbusters. Every single person who has launched using this framework has had 100% success of getting into the top 200 to gain authority. I'm going to explain to you guys why that's so important. Key number 2 is where the rubber meets the road and we make money. Podcast closing, how you can generate sales immediately with your show without ever having to sell to anybody that's listening in your audience. And then key number 3 is the 3-hour work week, how you can actually do this and not work that much. I live in Costa Rica. I surf all the time. I often am at the beach. I don't really work that hard. I kind of call myself the laziest marketer I know because lifestyle is one of the most things that's important to me. And I want to help you guys understand how you can make that a priority in your life and use a podcast to make a significant amount of money and grow your business, but without having to sacrifice and burn out and work all the hours in the day. So let's get started with you guys, right? Key number 1 is this weird 1970s pirate radio hack. But first, why are people going crazy about podcasting? Well, if you're here, you probably know why. In 2018, there wasn't that many people that had heard of podcasts that were consuming them. But by 2020, these numbers exploded. We had 55% of Americans who'd listened to a podcast. 37% were listening every month. We're talking over 104 million. And when you look at 2020, thanks to the pandemic, podcasting exploded. This is the amount of new podcasts that were created every year as tracked by Chartable. And you can see in 2018, there was 217,000 new ones. 100,000 more people the next year. In 2020, there was 885,000 people that launched shows. Podcasting is exploding. It's been magnified by what's happened in the pandemic. But this is an opportunity that's probably not going to stick around forever as more and more people jump on the bandwagon. So the question is, why should you podcast? Why should you guys get involved? And how are you going to use this to leverage and grow your business? Now, some of you guys are already in here and already have a show. Back in November 2018, I didn't know that I was going to have a podcast, but I thought, okay, this is going to be the way that I'm going to document my journey. I decided to go to Funnel Hacking Live. We flew all the way from Thailand to get there. I was completely broke at the time, was really kind of clueless. But I was hearing from people left and right that you needed to publish, right? You've got to be publishing if you want to stay relevant. And we decided to go all out. I actually spent most of my savings to fly from Thailand to Nashville to go to Funnel Hacking Live. We were actually so broke at Funnel Hacking Live that this was my girlfriend. She was making what we call hotel room waffles. She was using an iron because we couldn't afford to actually eat out at the restaurants. And one of the big things that I'd heard was, if you just stop listening to 80% of the tactics, if you just consistently publish, then come back in a year and your life is going to be drastically different. And we'd all heard probably people like Russell Brunson say, you've got to publish or you're never going to become relevant. And after going to that event, after hearing these talks about how podcasting and sharing your message was so important, I kind of decided that I was going to do it. I invested in a heavy coaching program. It was $2,500 a month. It was $30,000 for the year at a time when I had no paying customers, put it all on my credit card. And this was kind of how I felt as I was stepping out there. But I decided I was going to go and document my journey and publish using a podcast. And in February, I made it happen. This was my show. We got into New and Noteworthy, which I thought was kind of a big deal at the time. And we launched it. And I was going out there and doing what everybody else was telling me to do. I was publishing episodes. I was sharing them online. I was trying to just do it consistently. And within a couple of months, some crazy stuff started to happen. This is actually my calendar back from in April. And you can see that from a relatively brand new person who had no authority, didn't know anybody, didn't have any existing authority, suddenly I had all of these amazing people coming on the show. Joe Toasty runs a 7-figure business. Apple Kreider had a huge Instagram following, an amazing podcast. We had Eric Verdi, same position. Daxi ran a 7-figure business. Neil Martin, huge stage presenter, also a 7-figure business owner. All of these people, David Dang down the bottom here, he had an Instagram of over 1 million people, and he was willing to be interviewed and to share it with his audience. And what was really interesting is within 2 months, people started to take my call. And the reason behind this was very, very simple. By launching a podcast and getting my show out there, I was able to gain 2 really important things. And my friend Lauren Tickner, she's another 7-figure entrepreneur, and she teaches this to all of her students. And it's this A plus C equals V persona. And the idea is that in order to become visible, you need to have 2 things, which is authority and credibility. And what I didn't realize is that having my own show was going to give me those 2 things in gangbusters. It went crazy. And really, really quickly, within 3 months, I'd used that authority and credibility to pull people into a launch. And it was my first ever 5-figure launch. I made about $12,400 from that first launch that I did. Fast forward 6 months, from May until September, I'd actually done $50,000. I was able to go to an event, go and connect with people inside of my coaching program. And then within 11 months, after launching my podcast and 9 months into my business, I grossed over $160,000 in sales. And it was all on the back of that credibility and authority I established in my podcast. I broke into the 2 Comma Club X program. I stood out. Russell Brunson paid attention to me. And I was probably just like a lot of you guys. I was maxed out. I pulled out my credit card. I invested in that program. And some of you guys who are watching this right now, maybe you didn't fly from Thailand. Maybe you didn't have like $800 in your bank account like I did. Maybe you had less. Maybe you're making the same times of sandwiches that me and my girlfriend were making at Funnel Hacking Live. But the fact is, I knew if I just invested and if I was able to succeed within that program that I threw myself into, because I looked at what was on offer and I saw the people who were going through it. And I knew if I just surrounded myself with other people who were doing what I wanted to accomplish, I was going to be able to have success. And on the back end of this, it became really easy because from my podcast, I got clear on who I was serving. I was able to put myself out into the marketplace consistently, and I had a platform to be able to connect and actually go and sell to people. So within 3 months, I got clear on how to help people thanks to the podcast, gained huge authority in my marketplace. I was actually selling into the ClickFunnels audience. That was my market. Within 9 months, Russell Brunson asked me to speak in front of 300 of his $30,000 to $50,000 students to actually share my expertise of what I'd gained. That was huge. That was a massive level of growth. And within 12 months, I'd actually generated over $300,000 worth of revenue completely organically from May to May, just from my podcast and the secrets I'm about to share with you guys. And I want you to understand that a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they did the same thing. When Russell Brunson started his podcast, he was broke. He was having a failing business. Today, he's approaching $1 billion. Steve Larson, no business, no capital, started his podcast. Today, he's actually done over $10 million in a little over 2.5 years. Alex Schaffen, his business wasn't in momentum when he started his podcast. Today, over $10 million. But it's not just the big hitters. There's also people like Josh Forti. He was depressed, lost, his business was failing. Today, he's had a successful exit. He's a multiple 7-figure earner, and he did it all in less than 12 months. And Lauren, we already mentioned, but she was a fitness influencer. Now she has a program called Impact School. She's a 7-figure entrepreneur. She sometimes does as much as $300,000 or $400,000 a month in sales. And even me, after 7 failed businesses, I now have a business that's done over $500,000 in revenue since my podcast launch. And I want you guys to understand that your number one asset in your business is your customers, your customer list. And most people, they look at email and they say, okay, you have to own your list in email. But if somebody opens your email, they're only going to open 20% of them, right? That's the average open rate. The average person that clicks play on one of your podcast episodes, they will listen to 80% of every single piece of content that you put out there on average. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Let me say that once more. Email, 20% open rates. The average person that clicks play on one of your podcast episodes will consume 80% of all of your content. That is ginormous, and that is owning your customer list. And people like Lois, she actually had less than 130, I think it was less than 130 downloads each episode on her show. And the people who downloaded those episodes, they were incredibly engaged. From launching her podcast, she actually booked 20 application calls. And after just doing 3 of those calls, she was able to close $24,000 in client sales. And she actually collected $8,000 up front. That's not bad. That's pretty good from 135 downloads an episode. There's also people like Sam. Apart from being kind of the tallest person in his friend group, Sam also makes money from his podcast. He did a simple 3-episode podcast series 60% of the 500 people who were listening, they listened to all 3 of his episodes, and he made a neat $5,000 selling a $597 course. Bear in mind, this was the first time that you'd ever tried to do it. Pretty good job, right? Nice job, Sam. You even have people like Lizanne, like high five for Lizanne. You know, she hit number 18 in entrepreneurship in 48 hours. She grew her email list 8 times over in the first 30 days, and she closed $5,000 in the first 5 days, right? Let's give her a high five. So a lot of you guys might be thinking, you know, it's hard to launch a podcast, or I don't know how to launch it to get that kind of authority. I want to share with you guys that it's not that hard to do, and I want to show exactly how you guys can do this. Now, the first thing to understand is that this isn't new. They've been doing this since the 70s. And back in the 1970s, there was this really interesting thing happening in England called pirate radio. And basically, these stations, they were set up by a bunch of enthusiasts, these entrepreneurs, and they wanted to play pop and rock music. But the regular broadcasters, the BBC, they weren't letting people play pop and rock music. It wasn't allowed. So these pirates, they went up against the corporations. They went on these big boats out to sea, and they started broadcasting radio. And what I want to share with you guys is this is a little bit like the modern day podcasters creating their own platform and fighting against the likes of Facebook, where our accounts can get shut down, right? Just like the BBC said no to pop and rock music, Facebook is shutting people down every single day just because they can. There's been so many people that have been deplatformed, that have lost the ability to market, and sometimes even had their own profile shut down. Back in January of 2020, we had my entire profile completely disappear. 11 years of memories, all of my business on there, just gone overnight. And I'm paying my coach literally tens of thousands of dollars a year right now. The dude has 5 VIP ad account reps that he speaks to every single week on Facebook. And even he is saying in the next 18 months, the biggest transition needs to be moving and diversifying away from Facebook and going onto other platforms. Now, if you guys are here, you know, you're here on this webinar, just understand, like, I spent $3,500 on Facebook ads this week. It cost me about $15 a registration to get you guys here. Probably 1 in 5 is actually going to be here this week and show up. So it probably costs me about $100 just to get you here to listen to this today. And what I want to share with you guys is that using what I'm about to share with you, you know, we did 1 podcast interview, and on the back end of that podcast interview, which took us about 30 minutes, we were able to actually close a partnership with somebody that put us in front of their email list of 40,000 people. And we were able to have 750 people show up on that presentation that we did. You know, with an ad strategy like this, it costs us a fortune, but it's one of the platforms of how we're trying to scale. But using podcasting, you can actually get in front of a lot more people, and you can scale your business this way. This is how we did it to start off with. So how do you compete? Some of you guys might be thinking, well, Jamie, 800,000 new people this year. How am I going to compete? How do I go up against the likes of the Tony Robbins and the Russells in the world? And it's using the same strategy that the pirates used back in the 1970s. So I want to share with you guys, this might be the way that you already know how to podcast, what we like to call the old way of building trust. So how do you do it? Well, you launch your podcast and you have to grow a really big audience. You got to improve your know, like, and trust factor, and you got to publish consistently every single week. And it's going to take you about 12 to 24 months. And that entire time, you just have to wait. You can't sell stuff. You're not going to make any money. And people say, if you just keep publishing long enough, you're eventually going to have success. The problem is, I don't know about you, but I can't wait 12 to 24 months to get paid. So instead, the new way to build trust is very simple. You go and launch your podcast into the top 200. You instantly get validated in your marketplace, and you get authority, and you can leverage that authority to unlock tons of leads, dream clients, and I'm going to share more on that in a second, and massive joint venture partnerships. And you can do it in 48 to 72 hours. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do with the pirate radio method. So the pirate radio, how it works was that when they had a new pirate radio that wanted to launch, they had a ship that went out and they said, hey, Jimmy, I'm launching this new pirate radio station. And because it was the pirate radio stations against the big BBC, what they did was they collaborated and they worked together. When a new pirate radio station was launching, all of the other pirate radio stations broadcasted and put out a little mini section, a mini segment saying, hey, there's this new pirate radio station that's opened up. Go and support them. They're with us. And what they did was they collectively worked together to promote the brand new pirate radio. And what I want to share with you guys is this is exactly what we teach people to do when it comes to your podcast. And the strategy is actually very, very simple. We're going to do the same as the pirates. We're going to get 5 to 8 people. We're going to record mini 8-minute to 10-minute episodes. And we're going to get the people we interview to promote that episode to their audience. Just like pirate radio, we're going to get people in your audience, entrepreneurs, people with email lists, people that are already serving your dream customers. We're going to get them to come on the show, do a mini episode, and they're going to promote it. And this is actually what happened with my launch. You can see the ginormous spike in the downloads here when we launched it. These were the 8 episodes. We did it with Lauren Tickner, with Travis Sherry, Emily Hirsch, Dan Way, all of these different entrepreneurs. What they did was they went and promoted the podcast episodes to their audience. And you see on the right-hand side here, this is how I did it with the leaderboard. Every couple of hours, I would say, hey, here's the leaderboard. Lauren's in the lead. She's got the most downloads. Ali is second. And just by sharing this, they were automatically more willing to go and promote and to get to the top because they're competitive. They want to be the very best. And what this allowed us to do is have a ginormous spike in downloads using this pirate radio method, doing these 8 different episodes. And it launches and gets you into that top 200 position. And you see, becoming top 200, it's kind of like becoming a #1 best-selling author. Once you are a #1 best-selling author, you hold that title forever. It's the same as if you get to the top of the music charts. You might only be at the top of the charts for the best part of a couple of hours, but that makes you a #1 artist. And it's going to be the same with you guys. You're going to be able to become a top 200 or a top 100 podcaster in your space. And you're going to be able to carry that authority and that credibility through into your business to continue to grow it. Now, most people completely mess this up. So I want to make it really easy for you guys to know how to have success with this. So your rank in the top 200, it's determined by just a few things: your subscriber count, your download count, and your reviews. Now, there's a lot of people in the online space who disagree with this. Some people say it's just the subscriber count. Some people say it's just the other stuff. What I can tell you is that by getting everybody who goes and launches in this process to focus on these 3 areas, it not only gives you the ranked position, but it gets people listening to your episodes. And it also gives you massive social proof with literally hundreds of reviews on the back end, which you can carry on and get more credibility from. And what this does is getting into the top 200, it unlocks credibility. It gives you access to whoever you want, and it gives you huge opportunities. And remember, this doesn't take long. You can literally do this within 48 hours, and you don't need a big audience. Let me just get a sip of water here. Hurts your throat when you talk a lot like this. So people like Ron did this. Since he launched his show, they went from 0 in sales to $78,000 in just 3 months. And this was back in September. This was right in the middle of the pandemic. And this allowed him and his partner, Corey, to leave their jobs. They both had 9-to-5 jobs. One of them got furloughed. And the other one got furloughed about 3 months later. And because of what they did with their podcast, they were able to not have to go back to that job. It was incredible. You even have people like Rachel, right? Just under a year ago, we met actually in 2017. We both joined an online program about traveling the world. And 3 years later, we reconnected after both traveling kind of all over. She spent a ton of time in Australia. She was struggling like so many people to find her place in the online world. And she went from, selling her car and jumping into a program with us. And she said like she still probably would have just been thinking about the podcast. But from putting it out there, she's been a speaker on a summit. She gained authority. She's able to make her first couple of sales. And it's given her the confidence to step up. And there's so many other people that have come through this process, that have had fun with this and have been able to have success. And I want you to understand that if you can go out there and launch your show into that top 200 position, it's going to give you that same credibility. But once we're able to do the launch, once we've got all those leads coming in, once we've got that credibility, how do we translate that into money in the bank? Because that's what we're really interested in. We're here to grow businesses, right? How many of you guys would rather have an extra $10,000 in your bank account rather than having 1 million downloads on your podcast, right? That's what we're really here about. Let me know. Put a 1 in the chat if you're the person who's in it to grow their business and actually get paid. So key number 2 is podcast closing. I'm going to show you guys how you can actually generate sales immediately with your show without having to sell to your audience. And this is the really big thing that most people get wrong here. So first of all, the secret to success is trust. If people like you, they'll listen to you. But if they trust you, then they're going to want to do business with you. one of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar. So I want to ask you this. Is it easier to get 1,000 people to trust you to get 1,000 downloads so you can make $20 in ads? Or is it easier to get one customer to trust you and to give you $5,000 in revenue? For me, it's always getting one person to trust you that's easier. And like I said, when we started, we did kind of what we thought we were supposed to do. I was publishing all the time. This is me in the back room. It's so messy. This is one of my first ever podcast episodes, literally in the back room of my girlfriend's parents' house because we were staying in her parents' spare room on a single mattress. I was doing all this stuff, publishing, emailing, promoting, recording episodes. 2 months later, I didn't have any customers. Like, it was literally like tumbleweed. And I was looking everywhere online, like, how do I make this translate into money in my business? I even Googled it, right? And everybody was saying, and you probably heard this, you got to get 3,000 to 5,000 downloads, and that's when you can get a sponsor. And, in 2018, and I want to share this real quick. In 2018, I invested a total of $2,000 in my business, and I made $25,000. In 2019, I invested $30,000 in coaching, and that year I 10x my income. I was able to earn $250,000. In 2020, I invested $70,000 in myself, and our business grew to $500,000. We did another $250K in 7 months. And I want to get real with you here because it sounds cool and it sounds great. But during this picture right here, I was actually in Bali, and we'd just flown there after signing up for the 2 Comma Club X coaching program. And we managed to get there on super cheap flights. We honestly went there because it was really cheap to live. And I remember taking this picture and I wanted to share it with everyone because I wanted to share and be like, this is the beginning of my story, right? I'm going to hit the 2 Comma Club. I don't know if you can see, this is a ClickFunnels backpack. I was trying to take one of those pictures where it was like, started from here and got to there. But inside, I honestly felt like I didn't know how I was going to make it. At this point, I think I'd literally made £1.89. You can see this on the left-hand side. This was my bank statement for that time in April to May. On the right-hand side there in the column where it says in, that's the 189. That's what I made that month. And I was literally broke. I was kind of feeling really hopeless and I didn't really know what the next step would look like. I had this podcast, but it wasn't bringing in any sales. And nobody was buying my stuff. And here, like, I started that month with £9,000 in my bank. My end balance was like 1,700. I'd spent $2,400 on my credit card. I only had $1,800 left on it. It was pretty terrifying. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to make it. And at the time, I was actually cold calling and trying to sell dentists. So I was on the phone every single day, trying my hardest to make sales with these dentists. And at the time, I was also doing podcast interviews with entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs were the people who I really wanted to work with. And after doing these cold calls, I would get maybe one person a month who might sign up, and they ended up just canceling the next month. And then I did this one podcast interview, and it kind of changed everything because after I did this podcast interview with this entrepreneur, he actually reached back out to me and he said, "Hey, Jamie, I want to get on a phone call with you." And on that 30-minute phone call, he actually, at the end of it, sent me $2,000 via PayPal. And I was so confused. I was like, I don't just understand what kind of happened. On one hand, I had been working my butt off, trying everything I could, cold emailing, cold calling, sending messages on Facebook, writing posts in Facebook groups, like doing all of the things that I thought I was going to do. And I wasn't even able to make one sale. And then I did this 30-minute podcast interview, and this guy willingly came to me and just offered me $2,000 and paid me on the spot. I was like, wow, like this was so much easier. Like, what if I could actually do this on purpose? What if instead of doing it by accident, I actually did it the right way? And what was crazy is that next month, that's all I did. I stopped calling the dentist and I just focused on this podcast closing, like trying to close people through my podcast. And what was crazy is I had the same download numbers. When I spoke to people during the podcast interview, it didn't feel like this high pressure sales call like it was when I was trying to sell to the dentists. These people, they were happy to talk to me on the podcast. And honestly, they were grateful that I'd solved their problem. And what I've discovered is that with podcast closing, you actually can sell to your guests, not to your audience. And in that first month of trying it, that's when I was able to hit that $10,000 and $12,000 in sales inside of my business. And you see, podcast closing, it's kind of like dating. So imagine this. Imagine you're on a date. You're not going to, on a date, sit there in the high street, stand on a soapbox and yell out to people, hey, come over here and date me. I'm awesome. How do you date somebody? Well, first of all, you go and you ask them on a date. You invite them to connect. Then when you're on the date, you don't just ask them to go on another date right at the beginning. You build a rapport. You ask them questions. You get to know them. And then at the end, you're going to make them an offer and say, hey, like, let's go on another date. This was awesome. And so many people forget that there's a human element to growing a business. Podcast closing, it's just like dating. You invite someone to connect on your show. You build a rapport and just ask them genuine questions to build that relationship with them. And then at the end of the podcast, once the podcast is finished, you end the interview, you carry on the conversation, and then you ask them if they want to work with you inside of your business. Hey, I really think I might be able to help you. Would it be okay if I talked about it, and would you be open to hearing about it? You can make them an offer to connect with them. And it's very, very simple. And it's really just a simple 3-part framework. Step 1 is the invitation. Step 2 is the interview. And step 3 is the offer. So in step 1, you're going to go and find your dream customers who you want to work with, and you're going to ask them to come on a show. And what's great about this is 80% of people say yes to coming on an interview. 80%. It means if you ask 10 people, 8 people are going to say yes. You're able to increase their status because they come on the show, and you're going to be able to go and directly reach out to your dream prospects. Now, what's cool about this is that if you were doing cold calling or cold outreach or cold messaging, and you're trying to get someone on a sales call, only 5% of the people are going to actually get on an appointment, and you're going to close about 10% into your program or your offer or your service. So 1 in 10. So that means you have to do 20 phone calls to get 1 appointment, and you have to do 10 of those to make a sale. So you have to get 200 people on the phone call just to close a sale. Instead, with podcasting, it gives you easy access. 80% of people are going to say yes to coming on the interview. And then we find on average 25 to 50% of our students are closing those people into their offer. So step 2 is the interview itself. That's where you build the relationship. So you're going to build connection and trust with them. You're going to learn about their pain points and their goals. They're going to tell you about what they want to accomplish, what's slowing them down. And you're really able to go much deeper emotionally with people on podcast interviews than even in regular conversations, because people are wanting to tell their story. So you get there with a lot less friction. And then finally, once the interview is done, you follow up and you make them an offer. You might get on another phone call. You might tell them about what you do, and then you're going to ask them if they want to sign up and if they want to become a customer. See, all you have to do is just speak directly to your dream customer. And this is exactly what Reem did. Reem actually announced recently on our Podcast Profit Lab graduation ceremony. She told us about how podcast closing allowed her to close a deal that usually would take 4 months in 20 minutes. And she closed a $4 million deal doing an interview with somebody. Literally interviewed them, connected with them, and she sold them a $4 million product. And here's what's awesome. You know, the more authority you have, the easier this gets. And launching in the top 200 is going to make it incredibly simple for you. And with podcast closing, you don't need traffic. You don't need an email list. You don't even need to make offers to the people who listen to your episodes. You just need the platform to connect with your dream customers. Now, most experts, they're going to tell you to do this the hard way. You guys get to do it the easy way. So the hard way is what I used to do. Trying to get tens of thousands of downloads, promoting on social media, emails, graphics, videos, getting your show sponsored, running ads, all that stuff that pays you pennies on the dollar, promoting, building that know, like, and trust factor, having to wait 6 to 12 months to build up your audience, or having that highly produced show. And if you're struggling, like, this is probably why. If you're being told to do this, this is why so many people quit. This is why so many people give up. It's why most people don't make it past 3 months. It's because they don't know how to make money and have success, because they're trying to do it the hard way. With podcast closing, you don't need to do that. No crazy publishing schedules, no chasing downloads, and no spending 20 hours a week promoting your show. If you wanted to make $1,000 a month the hard way, you'd need 50,000 downloads a month. If you're doing once a week episodes, that's 12,500 people subscribing to your list. When I started my show, even 3 months in, I'd be lucky if I had 200 people. And the people that have figured out this process, we call them change makers. This is Brendan. He did 25K in his first 30 days of his show launching. It established him as an expert. And today he runs a high 6-figure a year business on the back of the credibility he gained with his show. I actually just hired him last week to run and create a video sales letter for me. People like Susan, right? She's figured out this process. She was struggling to get clients. She was new. She was actually a funnel builder. She had no credibility, no authority, and she was spending so much time in Facebook groups trying to be, one of those people that was going to land the deal. She said that she can attribute over $30,000 in revenue as a direct result from launching her show. And that was just the beginning. Corey was the example I gave you a second ago, Ron and Corey. He did the 78K in 3 months, and now they've got decent recurring revenue coming in. Him and Ron now have a thriving business. They're going to be able to continue to grow it, and they wouldn't have been able to do it without their show. And you see, the big secret here, guys, is you're using podcast interviews to instantly connect with your dream customers, gain their trust, and then sell your offer to them. And I love this quote by Laurie Richardson, because selling is really about having conversations with people and helping improve their company or their life. If you look at it like that, selling is a very admirable thing to do. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, is that connecting with you? Selling isn't a bad thing. You're just trying to help people improve their life or their company. You're not trying to convince somebody. You're not trying to persuade them. You're just trying to help them with a product that's going to genuinely help them. And it doesn't matter whether you're an agency, a freelancer, an affiliate marketer, if you've got an info product, if you're a coach, a consultant, a course creator, even if you're just getting started, I want to show you how this will work for you. So let's say you're an agency or a freelancer. Used to be complicated, right? You'd maybe have to send people through a video. You get them booked onto an appointment, you prospect, you close them. Now, Matt literally just invited people onto a podcast. He builds a relationship, and then he sells them a $15,000 to $3,000 a month product or service. He's able, by getting them on the show, to increase their status and build trust. And he turns them into a buyer. Matt did that without ever launching his podcast. He just did the interviews to close people. Susan, we just talked about her. It used to be complicated as well. She's selling $1,000 to $2,000 a month funnel building services. She just did the Ask the Expert. She got them to come on the show, got experts to come on to share their information. And then she said, wow, you're an expert. You probably need a funnel to grow. And she was able to sell them the product or service on the back end. People like Reem, she was selling $10,000 to $30,000 high ticket packages. She got people on the interview, and for her, it was all about the relationship. She built the trust. She was able to get the status and sell them into the program. Even if you have a low ticket product, Cherie, she sells a low ticket $27 toothbrush box. She was able to interview different dental offices, build relationships, and build partnerships with those dental offices. She now sells a $2,800 coaching service that helps these dental offices sell more of their services. And she's now converted it even to a high ticket offer. We've done this with $27 products. We go onto ClickBank, we look at who are the top affiliates, and we go and interview those affiliates because they know how to sell a product that's like ours. And we say, hey, I see you're already selling a product just like mine. Do you want to sell mine instead? Here's what I'll give you. If you sell an e-com product, I have a friend, he runs a multivitamin, right? He went and interviewed vegan blog owners. There was 10 vegan blog owners that he did an interview with, and all of them didn't sell products. He said, hey, I've got a vegan product that would be great for your audience. Do you want to partner up and sell it on your website? Had an incredible result with it. You've also got people like Jennifer, right? She was a coaching consultant. She used to get her coaching people from a Facebook group to come on a podcast interview. She would coach them on that interview, and then she would make them an offer to come into a coaching program on the back end. You can even do this to become a speaker. This is how I became a speaker at Russell Brunson's event. I went and interviewed the people that organized the event, built a relationship, and then they recommended me to Russell. And so if you guys right now are thinking, Jamie, this isn't going to work for me. My business is different. Just comment below if you think this isn't going to work for you. And I'm going to help you see how this can work for your business, because it literally works for any business that is trying to generate leads or sell a product. Now, you guys remember Brett, right? That's Stride, not really Brett. This is Brett. That's exactly what he did. To clarify, he said that right now he's at $150,000 a year, recurring for at least 10 years, likely for 20, 30, or 40 years or forever. He said at least 50% of that came from the podcast when he's on other people's shows. And this is huge. He's been able to land these big strategic alliances with these billion-dollar real estate companies. He even tried to use one of my strategies on me. It was really interesting that we teach him how to do this. I kind of feel like it's a Mr. Miyagi moment, wax on, wax off. The student has become the master. But he was able to dramatically change his life for the next 30 or 40 years and create a top 1% income for himself just by using his podcast. Now, you guys hopefully can see right now how amazing it is to use podcast closing. And I want you guys to understand you could be doing this very, very fast. And this is what podcast closing is all about, how to go and connect with these people. So Megan's saying, okay, Jamie, I sell online healing sessions. Like, how is this going to work for me? Easy. You're going to connect with people who are your dream customers. You're going to connect with them around the podcast interview, and then you're going to sell them your product or service on the back end. It really is just as simple. So Alex is saying, I'm a parenting consultant. I interview parents with the problem I can help them with, as I thought it would be a consulting session, but it's actually recorded. So yeah, you're going to actually go and interview your dream customer about whatever you want to talk to them about. It doesn't have to be about their problem. It could be about what they're going through. It could be a challenge. Go and interview that customer, build that relationship with them. And then at the end, you can segue into how you can help them inside of your business. Very, very simple. 3 steps. Step 1, interview them. Step 2, build a relationship. Step 3, make them an offer, get them onto that secondary sales call. Now, key number 3 is, okay, this sounds cool, Jamie, but what's that got to do about getting my life back, right? This is the 3-hour work week. This is how you can give yourself a huge pay rise. Avoid having to deal with any of the BS overwhelming stuff that people have to do in their businesses, and do it in less than 3 hours a week. So you guys know Gary Vee, right? Like, everybody loves Gary Vee. He's actually the opposite of what I really subscribe to. He's all about hustle. I'm about exponential income. And exponential income is really simple. It's how can you have a small input that gives you an exponentially massive result? AKA, how can I spend 30 minutes of time and generate $10,000 to $20,000 from that on the back end? That's how I look at exponential income. And that's what we want you guys to do. We want you guys to be coming in and positioning yourself and spending just a few hours on your podcast, but use that podcast to generate a lot of revenue inside of your business. And what I want to do is I really want to fast track this for you guys. And I want to help you go and get your first dream customers and your first podcast guests right now while you're listening to this. So literally grab your phone, take a picture of this if you want to, but go into a Facebook group right now with your dream customers and post something like this. You can say, I'm about to launch my podcast. I'm looking for blank to interview. Put whoever your dream customer is inside of there. I'm looking for parents to interview. We need some rock star guests. I'm looking for entrepreneurs to interview. Comment below if you want in. Here's an example of how to do this. This was Ashley. She put this post inside of a group. It's actually a group called Like-Minded Bitches. I don't know, not my kind of group, not something I would probably join, but I guess that she has a ton of her dream customers that are in this group. And she said, hey, bees, I guess that's what they call themselves in that group. I'm looking for some mamas to interview. We need some rock star guests for our new podcast. She got over 210 mums who commented to actually want to come on her show. Those are all her dream customers. She filtered through that and went on to interview the ones that she wanted to sell. So if you right now are saying, oh, I'm a parenting consultant, or oh, I want to work with YouTubers, or I want to work with podcasters, go into a group where they are and say, hey, I'm looking for some mums to interview, some parents to interview, some podcasters, some YouTubers, whoever it is. Copy and paste this in there, and you're going to go and get a flood of people you can interview that are going to be your dream customers. Take a picture of this, do it now. It's going to be huge. And by the end of this interview, you could have your first podcast guest lined up. So I want to share like what I was doing before the 3-hour work week, right? Some of you guys might be able to relate to this. I was kind of editing my own show. I was promoting it. I was putting everything out there. It was pretty exhausting. And I ended up actually hiring an online VA. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go out. I'm going to hire somebody. And I actually paid next to nothing for them. I had somebody that joined my program this week. They told me they were paying $30 an hour for their virtual assistant, and they weren't very good. For $2 to $5 an hour, I was able to buy back my time. I was able to go and buy 20 hours of time for about 80 to $100. Honestly, it might have even been cheaper than that. And I was able to do this because I hired somebody from the Philippines, somebody that already knew how to do the job. I went and got them online and I hired them. And I used that extra 20 hours that I bought back. So I didn't have to do the promoting, the podcast editing, all of that stuff. My VA handled it for me. I spent $80 on her, and I went and spent that 20 hours generating more interviews and doing podcast closing. And in that first month, I closed 2 more $1,000 deals on the back end. And what I want you guys to understand, it's about the who, not the how. You know, if you look at somebody like Gary Vee, he's got an entire team behind him. You know, he is able to go and close these higher leverage activities because his team is doing the dirty stuff, the stuff he doesn't want to do. So all of that stuff, you can hire it out. Podcast editing, show notes, audiograms, videos. Actually, let me know. How many of you guys are doing stuff like this right now? Oh, I just poured water all down my face. Right? If you're doing this stuff right now, or if you think you're going to have to do this stuff, if I'm not putting water all down my face as I'm drinking, you don't have to do this anymore. You can just hire somebody out, and all you have to do is record the episodes, and that's it, and you're done. So a lot of you probably have heard that you need to hire a VA, but the way that you can afford to do this is by focusing on the part of your podcasting that gives you an exponential result. And for me, it's that 3-part podcast closing framework: inviting them, interviewing them, and then making them an offer. Right? Perry's doing it. He's got a list of guests. I love it. So this is what the focus is all about. Small input equals big results. This isn't complicated. It's very, very simple to do. But just because it's simple, that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Remember, time is infinitely more valuable than money. So imagine right now you go and spend 3 hours a week on your podcast. And with those 3 hours, you do 3 interviews. And one of those interviews turns into a customer because you've done podcast closing. How much could 4 deals a month be worth to you? And would it be worth that small investment of 3 hours a week? And we teach everybody inside of our programs how to charge more money, how to charge $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for your product or service. How much would that be worth? Well, if you're charging $3,000 a deal and you get 4 deals a month, that's $12,000 every single month from spending 3 hours a week. Big results are exactly what Michael focused on when he's not kicking butt ninja style. This is Michael. He's actually a doctor. He saves cancer patients' lives, and he keeps the doctor away with his unusual methods. I can't confirm whether or not it involves wine. But Michael, all jokes aside, is really changing lives. He runs a multi-million-dollar integrative, I always say this wrong, health center, right? And he's actually got a TV show on Amazon Prime, local TV show. It's got about 1 million views, a radio show. He's interviewed Nobel Prize winners. He's a pretty legit dude. With this process that I'm showing you guys, you know, it's enabled somebody like himself who has not a lot of time, not a lot of know-how, and not a lot of technical skills to just launch an extra in addition to his business that he said is going to bring in over $2 million of revenue. And this podcast is going to help him sell life-saving surgeries and life-saving procedures for $20,000 a go. So I want you guys to understand right now, if you just speak to your dream prospects and then you use podcast closing, do you think maybe that you could do this, right? Think of this, pulling it together. If you followed what I said in key number 1 and you leveraged your top 200 launch to gain more influence and get people coming onto your show. And if you follow what I say in key number 2 and you loaded up your schedule with dream customers who are a perfect fit for your business. And if you followed what I said in key number 3 and you outsource those simple tasks to a VA so you can spend more time doing interviews and making offers, do you think maybe, just maybe, you guys might be able to pull this off? And these are the 3 keys of podcasting. It's very, very simple. The weird 1970s pirate radio hack so you can instantly get credibility and authority and get into the top 200 charts. Then podcast closing, making sales without having to worry about download numbers. And 3, making sure that you're living your lifestyle, right? It's so important to me to help people build businesses that give them the lifestyle that they want. So many people are living lives and running businesses that they actually hate. I want to help people actually build businesses that they enjoy doing, that gives them the freedom to do the things they want to do, whether that's surfing on the beach like me, or whether it's spending more time with their family or connecting with their loved ones. So the question is, how do we actually make this happen for you guys, right? And here's the problem. Doing something for the first time is hard. Even when we lay it out like this, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and mistakes cost you time, energy, and money. And straight up, if you guys don't get this fast, if you don't figure it out, a lot of you guys are probably going to give up. Now, the most successful people in the world, they have coaches, They have mentors and board members to make sure their goals become reality. Who do you have? This is a quote from Grant Cardone. The most successful people in the world have coaches. So the solution is to think about who, not the how. Find a mentor who's where you want to be, learn from their experiences, and miss out on those big walls that they ran into and skip all of that pain, right? So right now, you guys have two options, a fork in the road, if you will. So option number one is you guys can go at it alone. It's going to be slower. There's going to be a lot of mistakes that you guys made. It's probably going to be more expensive and it's going to be pretty painful. Or option number two is we go at it together. It's going to be faster. You're going to make less mistakes. It's going to be significantly cheaper. And actually, it's going to be pretty damn fun. This is just one of the calls that we've been on with some of our students. And we honestly have a ton of fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We try to have fun. We try to make money in our business. We try to create impact. But ultimately, we want to enjoy our lives. That's what it's all about. So if this sounds like you and you want to create a profitable podcast that actually gives you back your time and helps you to grow your business to $10,000 a month or more quickly with my team's personal help, then let's talk. You know, if you're tired of being told that you need to be on LinkedIn or running Facebook ads, if you're tired of publishing podcast episodes just willy-nilly and not seeing any profits or growth in your business, maybe right now you're paying like $97 a month for ClickFunnels and you know that publishing is the key, but you're not sure how to connect the dots and make it happen. And, you know, how do you actually get paid? And right now, you know, we're just taking on a small group of people and we're going to be working with them one-on-one. You know, people like Brendan, people like Reem, people like you guys are talking about inside of the chat right now, individuals, heart-centered people who want to make an impact and want to grow a business. And you guys can be just like the people that we've helped throughout this process. So all you need to do is go to podcastprofitlab.co/apply, and you guys can actually get booked onto a call. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a 45-minute call. And on this 45-minute call, we're going to cover a few different things. So first of all, it's going to be on Zoom or a phone call. We're going to diagnose your current situation. And once we've actually diagnosed your situation and we're kind of telling you guys what's going on, we're going to see if this model will work for you. We're going to look at your business specifically and say, will this work? And then we're going to map out an action plan to help you, first of all, hit $5,000 a month, then $10,000 a month, and all the way up to six and multiple six figures a year. And there's a very good chance this is going to be the most valuable 45 minutes that you're going to get this year. You know, these calls are one-on-one with me. You know, just to be real for you guys, I'm not going to be able to do these calls forever. Right now, it's a new program that we're launching. It's really exciting. We've got a ton of people already coming through this process. But in the future, I'm probably going to be outsourcing this and getting a team member to do these calls. So right now is your opportunity to actually connect with me individually and to do these calls. So who's this for? Well, this is going to be for coaches, course creators, agencies, and experts who are currently in business. If you sell an info product, one-to-one or group coaching, maybe you do consulting or done-for-you services like an agency, and we're looking for people who know they're good at what they do and they believe that they can add value to their marketplace. People who love helping others and value client results really above everything else. And people that understand that they need to have some skin in the game to win. Now, if this is you, then I want to work with you guys. I want to help you take your business to the next level. And I've opened up slots just across the next 5 days with me to one-on-one chat with you guys. So if you go to podcastprofitlab.co, you're going to be able to go and apply. You're going to be able to go and check out the website and fill in the questionnaire and see if we're going to be a good fit to work together. So what I want to do right now is I want to actually open up the floor to you guys for Q&A. Because I know some of you guys are going to have questions. You know, maybe this isn't going to work for me. Maybe it is going to work for me, but I want to actually ask questions about my specific type of business. So I want to invite you guys right now. You're here. I've got a little bit of time to answer some of your guys' questions. You know, let me know down in the chat. What is the business that you want to try and grow with your podcast? What questions do you have? I'm here to help you just in the next couple of minutes to understand. But honestly, the best way you guys can do this is to work one-on-one with us to help you get to that next level. So let's talk. You know, that's what I'm here about, is just to connect to you guys and see if this is going to be a good fit. So I want to give you guys a couple of minutes, see if you've got any questions that you would like me to answer. After that, I'm going to go grab some lunch. It's lunchtime. I'm kind of hungry. So just to help you guys kind of see what this looks like, because I want to paint a picture right now of what's going to happen if you go and apply. I'm actually just going to share my screen here for a second. And we're going to open this up. Thanks, Jeff. Excellent presentation. Glad you liked it. I'm here just to, try and help you guys. So if we go onto this Chrome tab and let's go onto the survey here, this is going to be what you guys are greeted with. Just a simple survey, just going through and just tell me a little bit about yourself, because this is going to help me to understand, a little bit about you. You can just go through and answer all of these questions one by one. Give me a little bit of information about what you're trying to accomplish. And once you answer that, I'm going to be able to jump on a phone call. And once you get to the end of filling in this survey, you're going to get taken across to a calendar. And that is not the right link. Let me go to the calendar. And once you fill in this survey, you're going to go to a calendar page, and it's going to give you a bunch of time slots for when you guys can go and book a call. And all you need to do is just click on one of these spots in the next couple of days. It's going to give you some time choices. You can confirm, put your name and email in, and then we'll get on a call. And we're going to chat. We're going to talk about you, your business, and what this helps you with. So Megan says, do you help what to offer? Yeah, Megan, this is one of the biggest challenges that most people have right from the beginning. And I was actually on a call with one of my students a couple of weeks ago. Her name's Tammy. Tammy's inside of this program, inside of one of my high-level coaching programs. And Tammy had this question. She's like, Jamie, I just keep struggling with figuring out what to offer. And one of the biggest things that I always really like to remind people is that usually you already have the answer of how you can offer and help people. You just need somebody to pull it out of you. Because when we look at our own businesses, we always have a really, really hard time figuring it out. Tammy has actually worked in the financial service industry for 20 plus years. And she was trying to figure out how she could help coaches. And there's this really great saying that I love, and it's called, the cobbler's kid has no shoes. Essentially, the guy that makes the shoes doesn't have shoes for his kid. Why? Because we're the same as this in business, right? We're very good at seeing stuff for other people, but we're not very good at seeing it for ourselves. I looked at Tammy inside of her business, saw 20 years of experience in the financial industry, looked at how she was trying to help coaches, and in a very short space of time on a coaching call was able to pull the answer out of her and help her figure out her offer. And for you guys, it probably is going to be a similar thing. You probably have all of the pieces right now of what you need to offer and help people with. You just need somebody like me as a coach to come and help you and pull those answers out. So yes, Megan, we go through creating and outlining an offer. And we can show you this process. But honestly, if you're not sure about this, if you're saying, okay, I feel like I'm an expert and I can maybe help people, or maybe you don't feel like an expert and you want some help figuring out what to offer, then my best bet would be to jump on a call. We can jump on a call. I can take a look more in depth at you and what you're currently doing and the experience that you have. And I can maybe give you, a little bit of a pointer in what direction to go. Megan, in fact, why don't you tell me a little bit, you're saying maybe you want help with your offer. How do you feel like you want to help people right now? What's your idea right now of how you want to help people with your offer? Perry says, my podcast is In My Head, Perry B. Anthony. Perry, that sounds awesome. So I think you said down below, so your podcast is mainly a backdoor for my revenue to add funding to my feature film. I've documented homeless people on social media sites. Yeah, Perry, I actually had a guy who came through our process a little while ago. He was actually one of these guys who was at that event with Russell Brunson. And it sounds like what you're looking for is a way to get investors in your feature film. Let me know if that's it, but it kind of sounds like that's what you're doing. So for me, that is really simple of how you can use podcast closing is you go and do podcast interviews with people who will be interested in investing in your feature film. And then you talk to them, build a relationship, and then you start to talk to them about what that would look like. So you're saying, I'm worrying on how to get my podcast to be video podcasts. Right now I'm on Anchor distributing across 9 platforms. Perry, I would say that's not even that important. A lot of people get really hung up in the weeds of the technicalities. And the truth is, if your podcast is available in video and your podcast is available on all these different platforms, is that actually going to drive revenue for what you want to accomplish? And most of the time, the answer is no. Most of the time, what drives results in our business is actually just a few very small measures. Like for me, I know that the more people that I get on a call with and talk to them about their business, the more people that we get joining our program. So I make it my priority to have conversations. And that's the number one thing we focus on inside of our business. And we do it in a number of different ways, but that's what we focus on. So Perry, that sounds like what you're trying to accomplish. You know, what's the number one thing that's going to move you and your feature films forward? Well, it sounds like it's going to be people investing. So how do you get people to invest? You get them on a call and you tell them about how that works. Okay, so how do you get people on the call? Well, that's what we use the podcast for. We use the authority and the credibility to make you stand out, to make them pay attention. And then we use that conversation to sell them on the next step. So Perry, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any more questions. And if you're sat there in the chat right now and you've got any questions and you're saying, how's this going to work for me inside of my business? So Alex, I can see you've got a question here. Alex, are you still here? Just let me know down in the chat if you're still here. I want to make sure I can help you. So how do you get the mini interview people to promote the episode that you're on? Alex, this is probably the easiest part. You just ask them. So most people are like, how do I get them to promote it? Well, we're going to go through step by step exactly what to say. If you decide to come and work with us inside of the coaching program, we're going to help you figure that out. But it's actually really easy. You just ask them. So I did an interview with somebody and her name was Emily Hirsch, and I did a podcast interview. And on that podcast interview, we spent about 40 minutes just talking about stuff. And then at the end of the interview, I said, hey, Emily, this was a really great interview. Do you actually want to be involved in my podcast launch? We're doing 8 episodes. They're about 8 minutes in length. There's a couple of these other people that are doing it. I would really love for you to be involved. What do you think? And she was like, yeah, I would love to be. I was like, perfect. Just to let you know, everybody who is actually launching their episodes on that day, they're actually promoting that episode to their audience. And everybody's doing that just to give it more exposure. Is it okay if you do that to your audience as well? And she was like, yeah, no problem. Super happy to do that. I was like, fantastic. Let's just do that interview right now. So all it takes is you to just ask them, hey, are you willing to promote this? And if you make people feel like everybody else is doing it, then they're going to be willing to step up and to do that as well. So really great question. All you do is just ask them. And if they say no, you say, okay, that's no worries. But just so you know, it's not going to be a launch episode, but I'd love to interview you later. You know, and we can push back and we can do the interview now, but it's just going to go out after the launch instead. And that's what we're trying to help people to understand here. Alex, let me know, what your business is. And if you have a question about how, we can add revenue, or if you've got any other questions about it as well. See if I missed anything down here. So I answered that question with Alex. Do you help what to offer? So Megan's telling me what to offer right now. So yeah, Megan, you sell a package of healing sessions, private sessions in yoga and meditation. I can also narrow down the focus. So yeah, Megan, that's a really, really good example of an offer. And what we always focus on helping people to do is to actually learn how to charge more for what you do. I had a person that came into our program. It was actually a mother and a daughter, which was kind of nice. When she came into the program, her name was Heather. When Heather came into the program, she was selling meditation sessions. And I actually had another student who did this as well, Donna. She was selling Reiki sessions. She would sell 10 Reiki sessions for about $50 a session. And what we showed her how to do was actually how to package her products together into an offer. And she now charges $3,000 to $5,000 for actually less. She actually does less work than when she used to sell the Reiki sessions, but we showed her how to package it and sell it as a higher ticket offer. So Megan, that's exactly what I'm trying to help people to figure out here is how can they, put their offers in a way that makes sense so they can charge more money in a way that's easy to do and easy to fulfill, and how to use the podcast to then fuel and grow the business on the back end. And Megan, if you want some help figuring that out, and understanding, I would recommend that you jump onto a call. Just go to podcastprofitlab.co/apply, not .com.co. And I'll just put the link up here on the screen again once more for you guys. And all you need to do is just go to the website here and we can actually book in for a call. We can have a chat about this. And I can see how this is going to work for you inside of your business. Anybody else have any other questions? My throat's getting a little bit dry now, so I'm going to be finishing up in a second. So thank you. I'll book a call. Yeah, Megan, super excited to chat with you. Just go to the link, fill in that application. It'll give you some times to connect, and then we can jump on a call. So Alex saying, thanks. I'm the parenting consultant. Oh, Alex, yeah, sorry. I read your comment down below before. So you currently have a podcast on Anchor. I actually run it with my mom. She's a child and family psychologist. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love psychologists. My girlfriend's aunt is actually a psychologist. So yeah, I like that. Looking to see how to link the podcast to actually finding families that we can help. I have an outro with info, but I don't think people listen to the full outro. Yeah, people don't. And this is the thing. When you look at downloads for a podcast, it just doesn't work because of the numbers. And I want you to just imagine this for a second. Imagine, and I'm actually going to grab my iPad and plug it in and see if we can just put this on a whiteboard right now and draw this out, because I think this is super, super interesting to try and understand. So let me draw this out for you and see if we can get this figured out. So give me 2 seconds. So imagine right now, okay, that works. That's good. So imagine right now you have got 1,000 people that are listening to your podcast. And let's just say you're doing 4 episodes a month. Actually, Alex, let me know in the comments, how many episodes a month are you doing? Now, let's say you're doing 4 episodes. So that means you've got 250 people that are actually listening to your episodes, right? They might listen to each episode, but you've got 250 people. Now, an average click-through rate of somebody that's going to click a link in your show notes or take action on a call to action you have saying, hey, listen to my outro, go and do this thing. It's usually a click-through rate on average is about 1%. So that means you are going to get, on average, every month, about 2.5 people that are going to click. Right, 1 per week. So yeah, so this example makes sense. 4 episodes a month. And let me know how many downloads you're getting, by the way, because I want to do this example with your real download numbers. But most people, they're getting about 1,000 downloads a month, let's say. So that means that every month you're getting 2.5 people that click. Now, the problem is whatever web page they end up going on, the average conversion rate of a sales page or even any kind of page that you're sending people to do, the average conversion rate is about 3%. So out of those 3 people that land on that page, you're only going to convert about 3% of them into a call or a sale or something like that. Now, what's 3% of 3? 0.03 is 1%, so it's 0.09. So you've got about 0.1 customers who are going to sign up. So what that means is every 10 months of you doing your podcast, you'll get 1 person on average that buys. Hopefully this is making sense. So essentially, with this methodology, right, this old way of doing podcasting, you either have to increase this by 10x, right? You'd have to get 10,000 if you wanted to make just 1 sale a month, or 100,000 if you wanted to say make 10. And this is why I personally hate the old methodology, because for you to get to 10,000 downloads a month or 100,000 downloads a month is really hard. Not even the top 0.3% of podcasters are getting to these numbers, right? It's very, very difficult for you to be successful. So what I want to help you guys to understand here is that the old methodology is usually not going to work for you. So instead, how can we reprogram and get the podcast working for you and helping you to generate sales and generating leads? So Alex, how can you use the podcast as a tool to give you authority and credibility in your space, which makes it easier for you to close more sales, even with just the regular people that are coming to you? But also, how do you use the interviews to go and get you in front of your dream customers? And you might sell directly to the people you interview. You might interview parents and get them to talk about their experience and create the show around them. Or you might even make the show about partnerships, right? You could make your show about finding people who have parents in their audience. You have somebody like Lauren Golden, for example, she has 10,000 moms inside of a Facebook group and community. If you interviewed her and you said, hey, Lauren, you've probably got moms who need help inside of the parenting space, and I can help them as a consultant. Let's partner up and let's do a partnership. I'll do a presentation to your group and we'll get people to sign up for our product and service and I'll give you a cut. That could be another great way to grow it as well. So Alex, hopefully that's making sense. Let me know if you have any other questions. And like I said, we can go and talk about this in a little bit more detail on a phone call, see if this methodology is going to work for you, and just help you to kind of understand the best way to kind of do this. Yeah, so Anchor says it's 40 estimated audience size. Yeah, 80 plays a week. Yeah, so, with those numbers, just like we talked about on the whiteboard here, you're just not going to have enough volume to make any sales. It's the same reason why advertising or sponsorships isn't going to work either. You just don't have enough throughput to be able to get successful results. Even if you were incredible at the outro, even if you had an incredible sales page, you just haven't got enough numbers to make it successful. So that's why we're all about changing the environment, changing the game to make it easier for you to be successful. Is that making sense? So let me know, if you want to jump on a call and if you're interested in me helping you to kind of accomplish this, feel free to go to the link and apply and we can chat and see if we can help you figure out how to do this on a bigger scale. But this is what it's all about, in my opinion, making it easy. This game doesn't have to be complicated and hard. I'm literally going to probably take the rest of the day off. My girlfriend has this afternoon off. She runs a restaurant. So I think we're going to go and have lunch together. I'm going to go hang out by the beach. And then I'm going to chat with some of you guys a little bit later this week, which is going to be exciting. So, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. But, just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy. So many people have watched this presentation, tried to do this themselves, and had a really hard time accomplishing it. That's why I want to help you guys avoid the pitfalls and mistakes that most people run into so you can be successful. Megan, if you want to go and listen to my podcast, you can actually go to changemakersmovement.com/podcast. We used to actually have my podcast with me and my ex-girlfriend. We actually broke up. We broke up in December. So I didn't do a ton of podcasts between December and January, but we started doing more podcast episodes again. But yeah, you can go and listen to my podcast there. Feel free to subscribe and listen to some of the episodes. I'll email you guys a lot as well. I really love writing daily emails. So you'll hear from me in the inbox and just telling random stories of all the crazy stuff that we get up to. So any final questions? I'm about to jump off and go grab some lunch and run over to the beach. It's a little windy here in Costa Rica today, but it should be pretty nice. Any last questions? Anything I can help you guys with before I jump off? Perks of hanging out with you guys live. You get to ask me the questions. No worries, Megan. Excited to chat with you. I know you said you're going to book a call. So yeah, I'll chat with you guys soon. Anybody else? I'll give you about another 10 seconds and then I'm going to jump off. No worries, Perry. Thank you for being here. Hope this was valuable. I'll show you guys a replay after this. If you've got any questions and you aren't sure or anything like that, just reply to one of my emails. I check all of my emails personally, so I'll see all of your responses. If you've got any questions, maybe you didn't want to ask it publicly here. Perry signed up. Awesome, Perry. Excited to chat with you. Honestly, it's going to be a ton of fun to learn more about your guys' businesses and try and see if it's a good fit and try and help you grow. All right, guys. So have an amazing day. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. I'm going to shoot you a couple of emails across the next couple of days, so keep an eye out for that, and we'll connect soon. And remember, if you want to get on a call to chat about this, see if we're a good fit to work together and for us to help you grow in your business, go to podcastprofitlab.co/apply. And I'd love to chat with you guys and help you to grow inside of your business. All right, guys, have an amazing day. See you soon. And I hope you have a good one. Bye now.